Today I'm going to give a short teaching on why it is that the book of Acts chapter 17 doesn't apply to the Metatrone controversy. And I'll quote Acts 17, 22 to 23. Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, "You men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God, whom therefore you ignorantly worship. Him declare I unto you." Acts 17, 22 to 23. Now would referring to the Lord Jesus Christ as the Metatrone be the same as Paul preaching to the Greeks, revealing to them the true identity of the, quote, unknown God that they had made altars to? Well, let me go back a bit. When Paul came to Athens to bring the gospel, he saw that the city was wholly devoted to numerous Greek gods whose shrines, images, and statues were venerated throughout the city. The Greeks were polytheists and wanted to appease whichever gods they perceived to exist. Paul also noted a rather curious phenomenon, for throughout the city were various altars which were dedicated to, I quote, the unknown God. Evidently, there had been a very serious plague in Athens at one point in antiquity, which had been interpreted to require the appeasement of the gods, and to which the entire city completely devoted itself to. They were asking which god was responsible for the plague, and Athens would not take any chances. They sought to appease all of them. However, the plague was not stayed, in spite of the multitude of devotions offered. Evidently, these pagans didn't know which god they should offer sacrifice to. So this was a humble admission of their ignorance of God and a desperate attempt to appease him. A wise man was consulted who instructed the elders of the city to let loose a flock of goats, and wherever those goats would rest, they were to erect an altar to the unknown God and offer sacrifices there. Centuries later, the apostle came to Athens to preach Christ. Where could he start? Well, Paul would tell them the identity of the unknown God. Now, there are many who are saying that what Jacob Prask is doing by referring to the Kabbalistic Metatrone as the, quote, one mediator between God and man, and the, quote, angel of the Lord, and even he calls him Jesus. They're saying that's the same thing Paul was doing. Now, I don't think the analogy applies, and here's why. The many altars to the unknown God amounted to an admission that the Greeks really didn't know who God is, and to the limitations of their own pantheon to stay the plague. In their desperation, they cried out to the unknown God. Incidentally, the plague stopped shortly after, according to the story. Now, Paul could respectfully build upon that humble admission and let them know that the God who did what none of their own gods could do, i.e. stopping the plague, has an identity, is a person. He's their creator and judge, as well as their redeemer, the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, in the case of Jewish evangelism, and I believe that the gospel definitely should go to the Jew first, the Metatrone is in no way an admission of ignorance of the only true God. In fact, the Metatrone is the product of a very sophisticated but errant theology which developed over centuries, which has a highly developed persona and springs out of a literature that was designed to destroy faith in Jesus Christ deliberately, particularly among the Jews. Unlike the Greeks, the rabbis and their disciples are not saying that they don't know God or they're ignorant of God. In fact, they are Gnostics who believe that they alone know who God is. Thus, the analogy breaks down. Now, why bolster their unbelief by trying to label Jesus with the title that they know well of a figure, which means behind the throne? Metatrone is not Jesus Christ. Not even close. It was not the Metatrone who wrestled with Jacob. It was God. The patriarch Jacob saw the face of God and lived. Metatrone is an occult imagination, an idol, a distortion of reality, a terrible, ominous substitute for our Savior. I am being sincere when I tell you this is a profound spiritual warfare. It's nothing personal. It's about spiritual warfare. When Paul engaged in Jewish evangelism in the synagogues, did he refer to the Metatrone? Now, I have a footnote on my article that says, it could be that the Metatrone developed later in time, but the point is the same. For there were plenty of Jewish myths Paul could have drawn from for analogies if he wanted to. Would he have pointed to the various myths and fables of the rabbis, which he so often warned against? How did Paul go about Jewish evangelism? To the book of Acts again, same chapter, 17. When they passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the Scriptures, opening and alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Jesus whom I preach unto you, he's Christ. Acts 17, 1 through 3. Acts 18, 4 through 5. He reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath, and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the Spirit, and testified to the Jews that Jesus was the Christ. 18, Acts 4 through 5. Admittedly, I do not speak Hebrew, but I am a Christian, and I do have the Spirit, and it grieves me to see the Lord Jesus Christ compared to a mystical figure and openly referred to as Metatrone, and altar calls to be made in the name of the Metatrone. We must be discerning, brothers and sisters. I beseech you, pray for discernment on this. God bless you.